here to discuss T.C. Steele, and he is a well-known plein air painter in this area, specifically Indiana. And we have what I'm calling an expert on T.C. Steele. Tell us a little about T.C. What interests you most about him?
Well, he is the most notable artist in Indiana.
So what do people see, painters see, when they come to that area that's such a draw?
Well, what they saw then, a lot of logging had been done. And so there were a lot of panoramic views from hilltops. But most of the Brown County colony artists made studios and little cottages and started living in the little town of Nashville. And so they made gardens with hollyhocks and all the appealing things that a lot of impressionistic artists like to paint.
Yeah, T.C. Steele. I've refreshed myself with numbers of his paintings just recently. Since someone that had a very unique way of looking at plein air painting. There's kind of a genre or a Me Too look of plein air painters that we have nowadays. And everything seems to be painted with these gray colors, and it's almost value studies, and they're kind of dead-looking paintings. And he had so much life in his paintings, and you sense the pigment and the paint and the design, and there was a lot of motion through his paintings with the way he handled things.
He said that he would just, when he was outside, he would just look for something that inspired him. And it could be something as simple as just the way the line of the cloud met the top of a tree, or something as simple as that he would try to capture, that it really believed was that you had to spend a lot of time in a place before you could really try to represent it in a plein air painting quickly, and you would already have this knowledge of the place and different seasons and different light, and be able to represent it better.
Yeah, I mean, Cezanne really believed that. You know, he painted his mountain, painted it in the backyard, and a lot of painters that I talk to, you know, they paint close to their backyard because, you know, you have to have that personal connection with what you're painting. So possibly this thing where people are going from location to location and painting plein air and doing this tap dance or whatever it is, that they're not immersed in their experience, and so they're, you know, possibly just painting the surface, or what a few tricks they did before, they're going to apply them to this next situation.
I absolutely believe that. Yeah. And I see people that travel, they go to traveling workshops and maybe go to the south of France or Italy, and they come back and their paintings all look the same. One of the things is that they already have a preconceived notion of what things make it look like Italy. Maybe the red tiled roofs, or the style of the gardens, or the topography. So I really do believe that you need to be totally immersed. I believe that too, as well as T.C. Steele.
Right.
But he is one of the first people to say that. One of the things, of course, that made him unique was the timing. I mean, he was painting plein air paintings of southern Indiana when that really wasn't in fashion. That was a unique thing, to be coming back to the Midwest and painting what you knew best, instead of going to New York, to the East Coast, where possibly you could have made it a lot more lucrative or been a bigger name. But he and the Hoosier Group chose to come back to Indiana.
Yeah, I think, you know, some people think that you have to go to a beautiful place to make a beautiful painting. And the truth is that, I believe the truth is that you can make a beautiful painting wherever you are at, you know. Those familiar things around you, any items, it's about design, it's about the paint, that'll make the painting. And that's why I was really, I thought there was a lot of drama in his paintings, but it might not have been the drama like, you know, waterfalls and mountain scenes and
right.
this, that, and the other thing.
Seascape.
Yeah, and but it's more of even maybe a challenge because you're not giving these things. But
I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't want to tell people what a plein air painting is and isn't necessarily, but there definitely are some things that, you know, we could say, you know, it's more like eating a candy bar versus, you know, maybe digging into a good steak, you know. And tell me about the way he applied, TC, how he applied his paint. What?
Okay.
I want to know. I'm a painter, and I want to know what did he really do that I could learn from him. And I want to get to know this guy, his personality. Was he a likable guy, and what he did with his paint? And
well, he was apparently very, very well liked. He was, I think he was a fairly reserved person and extremely serious. I've never heard of him being a jokester or having or having a real
tell us a good one.
active sense of humor.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But he was very well loved because he was a gentle, very gentle person. He absolutely was a complete nature freak. He loved nature, and he was out in nature every day. He'd leave early in the morning and come back late in the afternoon. And he was he wrote a lot of things that were sort of an homage to nature that are around the T.C. Steele site. For instance, he had carved over his fireplace, every morning I take off my hat to the beauty of the world, and things like that. Or,
right.
You know,
Just
he
appreciate what we
was
have.
very, very appreciative of nature and of the place where he was on that 211 acres.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, I noticed with myself that, you know, I love being outside. I love gardening. I love to play tennis outside. I want to be out in the sun. And then for me, plein air painting is just awesome. And then you have the teacher, which is, you know, nature, which is our teacher. And we can learn so much from it every time we go out there. So what kinds of things do you think TC learned when he went out there? What was he able to grasp that other painters weren't able to grasp?
Well, you were asking about his paint application, and I can't speak to that other than with the knowledge that he stopped doing any kind of underpainting when he moved to Brown County. So what you see is what was applied.
Direct painting.
Direct painting. Yeah.
He didn't have any tricks. I
don't think
he was the real McCoy. What was there was what was there.
They did have what they called the white period when he was in. Well, it was shortly after he saw. I think after he saw Monet's paintings in Chicago, where he would paint white underpainting, and then when it was still wet, would put his colors in, and they would come out. There's just a period of time when they're much more pastel in color. There was not that much value difference. Things weren't, you know, like photorealistic, but at the same time, all the scale, the values and the scale, like, you know, if there was a cow back there and a cow up here, all those three-dimensional tricks were copacetic. I mean, you know, they were. He followed all those rules.
Yeah, I mean, he had a strong sense of realism in his paintings,
and with color, I think.
Yeah, less with color than other painters I've seen, but
that's interesting.
Yeah, but he definitely, you know, he had his drawing down. And
yes,
he had
exactly. He was a pretty good renderer.
And what I think is important in the painting is to move the eye through the painting. I think that's the job of the painter, and I sense that he's very strong in design. And that's what accomplishes that in my mind. But there's something else when a painting is painted with the heart and soul that, and I'm not trying to be too out there by saying that, but it does have that sensibility. It does transcend onto your canvas.
Well, I think it's, like you said, I think it's more alive.
Right.
I mean, you get an alive feel, which is really the whole gist of plein air painting, I think, is to get something quickly and alive. I mean, I've heard people say that so-and-so was T.C. Steele's student and things like that. T.C. Steele, that was not his forte. Teaching.
He wasn't a teacher, yeah.
No, and he started the Indiana School of Art, the second or third one in Indianapolis, but he soon got out of that. He wasn't a person who, I don't think, enjoyed, running around and looking at people's easels and giving them advice. Mind
his own business.
Yeah, he was interested in painting.
Do you think he had any fun?
Well, I think he was so dedicated to what he did, and he had this purpose in life, and anyone who has that much dedication to a purpose will enjoy their lives, because they'll...
Okay, good. I thought you were going to say can't have any fun.
No. I mean, your definition of fun might be different than his, but he had many friends and loved where he lived and went out every day and painted, and when it came time when he was starting to fail, when his health was starting to fail, if he couldn't paint, there was no use living. So I think he had a deep joy in life. I don't know if, fun is the same thing.
No, it probably isn't. Though it is enjoyment, I guess might even be a better word. Fun sounds a little flippant. But, I believe that we should enjoy our work,
Well, if you're not, you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, exactly. and it shouldn't feel like, this heavy weight and burden. It should definitely feel like, hey, have some fun when you're doing this,
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself, enjoy life, because that is going to show up on the canvas.
Absolutely. Ways to experience T.C. Steele, of course, is to go to the T.C. Steele State Historic Site in Brown County, where he lived. Everything's there. His books, his furniture, his paintings, his studio. You can look out the north window and see what he was painting, and you can experience the woods and the trails, and his wife went to a lot of effort to plant gardens, beautiful gardens and lily ponds, and make an environment that he was interested in painting.
I went to his boyhood home,
Sure.
and that was a neat experience for me. And I tried to zone in on his spirit while I was there. And if you can do such a thing, I don't know.
It's interesting, yeah.
I did a painting of T.C. Steele's chair, and it's now hanging in their gallery. It just seemed to me that it would have been something that he was sitting in. And I just sensed that he was there. I don't know, it was just this thing that I sensed. And it actually turned out to be a very nice painting. I don't know if I could tell you his spirit there. I guess it was gentle, I guess is what I sensed.
Very gentle person.
Would that be true?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think he was a very gentle person. He did not like confrontation. I wrote a book about one of his cohorts, William Forsythe, who was always ready for a fight. And I was always trying to pick fights with T.C. Steele. Steele wouldn't fight with it. So, that's
Was he a little guy or a big guy?
Yeah, a little guy.
Oh.
So it's...
Good not to fight if you're a little guy.
No, Steele wasn't a little guy. Forsythe
was
Steele was fairly
big guy?
tall.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tall and slight. But, it's very frustrating for a fighter to be around a non-fighter.
Yeah, a physical person.
Yeah, or even just to, diss somebody, and then they don't take it. Just glances off of it.
He was focused on other things.
Yeah. He was just, he was just trying to do what he was trying to do. Steele was, and he didn't want to fight about it.
Yeah. I saw recently on YouTube, and they had this video of this artist that had just recently died, and they're showing now this is where the artist's studio was. This is his paint still laid where he left them, and all this stuff. And they're making such a big deal about it, like, you know, this artist and create this shrine and all this stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy just died. These people would have came a week or two earlier, they could have seen him alive,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah, that's... Yeah.
Why aren't we appreciating some of these painters even today while they're still alive? Get out there and see some living painters too, because
yes, I agree with
you don't have to wait for somebody to die to buy his paintings. You
well,
don't
it
have
becomes a limited resource then. So I mean, you know, so the paintings become worth more.
We have this thing in our mind that if the person's dead, then you know now his paintings are worth more. We should buy one. You know. Appreciate that painter while he's alive today. Go meet him. Go talk to him today. Yeah. See what's in his head today. Yeah. You know, we don't have to wait for somebody to die to appreciate.
And that's a good way to collect too, because to collect painters that are still alive, because you can talk to them and find out what they're thinking.
Right.
I agree with you absolutely. People should spend their money on it. They shouldn't even be buying historic paintings. They should be buying current work.
Tell me a little bit more about his studio and that. Now that we've talked about go see the living ones, he does have a studio we can go visit.
Right.
And what's going on at that studio?
You can see between 60 and 70 original TC Steele paintings.
Okay.
And
I haven't done that yet, so
you need to do that. Yeah.
I have to do,
so the studio is this. It looks like a big barn. It's got the gambrel roof, and the whole north side of the studio is window.
Okay, so believed in the painting with the north light.
And they have the paintings arranged by time period. Usually when people talk about Steele, his work is divided into the Munich period, the very dark, very academic, very realistic paintings, and then the Brookville period, when he shared a studio with J. Adams and Brookville. And then you can go in the house, and he chose for his wall color in the living room this really bright kind of sage green.
Oh, okay.
For the background, and so a lot of the paintings are on those walls, and you can.
Well, if you could describe like one of his paintings, your favorite TC Steele painting, you have to pick one, and tell us what you see in that painting. What would you be describing to us?
Well, one of the things that Steele did when he was in Brown County was build these little, what he called painting shacks, so he could paint in the winter. Okay. And they would have big windows, and they would just be these tiny little shacks.
Like you'd see out on ice or something like that?
Yeah, almost that bad. Yeah, the little board and batten shacks. They actually reproduced one of them, I think, on the site. And they'd have a little wood stove maybe for heat. But he had one of his shacks down in this ravine, and so some of my favorite paintings that he did are in that ravine.
Oh,
and
wow.
it's a lot of them are named, because he had such generic names, Winter in the Ravine or Fall in the Ravine.
I fell in the ravine.
Yeah, right. So you see the similar, the topography is similar.
Okay.
But he has a lot of classic compositional things like, the stream leading back, and atmospheric things like maybe a lot bluer in the background, many trees, and but the way he paints them, and they look like they're painted with a palette knife, because there will be big. You can tell he's painting. One of the things I find interesting is people who actually paint versus people who maybe would make a shape and then paint color in. He really painted.
Yeah.
Obviously. But
yeah, I know what you mean. Some people just kind of color. and drawing.
Draw and then color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus when you paint, it's a different experience.
Yeah, it's
People
more
don't
sculptural. It's much more sculptural.
Yeah. It's all at once. You could do the inside of the shape, the outside of the shape, what's next to that. It's all this.
It's the marks.
Yeah. It's mark making, exactly. Right. And I noticed that about his paint. So he does use brush though. And I noticed that his paint is a little swirly. Not maybe as broken stroke as like Van Gogh or something like that. Right. But his swirliness.
It's very, very confident and mature.
It's
not.
You can almost follow it through the whole. I call that pathways.
Yeah.
You have things in the design that go through.
That's
it like
very
that.
obvious in these reviews.
Yes.
You know he's not just going, making little things.
He's not licking his paint. They call that licking when you dab, the same color over and over. And then you wonder why you have mud there. But I mean, he's very confident. Like you said, he had gone down this path many, many times throughout hundreds and thousands of paintings to come up with where he finally evolved to. And it's, people sometimes ask me like, hey, how long did that painting take? Well, it took all my life plus the time it took to paint it. And that's what people don't understand, that and it is, if you went to a doctor, it's accumulative knowledge. If you go to an accountant, a lawyer, it's accumulative knowledge that they've learned through their career. And it's no different with an artist. And you accumulate knowledge and experience, and you're able to describe that.
Except for, I think there is a certain freshness that a beginning painter might have that you can never find in a more experienced painter. Sometimes a beginning painter can nail it, can nail this freshness of a vision and it may be funky and it may be completely out of whack, but it's still got a freshness and a charm that maybe somebody who's more experienced
wouldn't allow themselves to do.
Exactly. So they say, that's a piece of,
I would never do that.
Yeah, right.
They actually have too much baggage and burden.
And I think that can be, I think that can be done too, or inhibiting things.
Yeah. There's a book I read that said that different people hit their peak, some early, some midlife, and some at the end of their life. I'm hoping I'm at the end of my life because it's more fun to accumulate through your life. If you hit it early, it'd be kind of like, oh, it's over. But like,
that's a bad thing. That's bad for writers too.
We can carry too much baggage, and I did that. I spent probably 10 years ridding myself. I talk about this in my last book, Tips for the Contemporary Painter. But ridding myself of a lot of the fallacies and lies that were handed to me by well-meaning painters or well-meaning teachers, or maybe not so well-meaning. Maybe they just were doing their job or thought they were doing their job and they had to sound smart. My thought has always been, if I don't have the right answer, I'm not going to make something up. I'll say, I don't know. That's kind of.
Well, I think there are different right answers for different situations too.
Yeah, but some things, you're right about that, there are. But sometimes they're just bad information. And I spent, I think, 10 years weeding myself out of all the bad information that was put in. And I had to prove each one. And so then I came up with what I call the painter's code in my book, which is that don't pass any information on unless you have personally proved it yourself. Because too many people are like, well, you don't do this and you don't do that because, and why do you, well, someone told them that. And then they're telling somebody else and they're just, passing this garbage down. So ridding ourselves of bad information, myths, things that we haven't proven ourselves, is a good way to start purging that stuff that encumbers us. And well, it was so wonderful having you here.
Yeah, it was great to meet you.
They'll benefit from hearing your perspective on TC Steele. And there's lots of other perspectives out there, and there's books you can read, and of course, the museum that you talked about is studio. So thank you so much.